Est-ce que vous pouvez juste m'indiquer dans le chat si vous m'entendez bien? Je veux juste m'assurer. Oh, I forgot, this is in English. Can you guys hear me okay? Can someone just type in the chat to make sure that you can hear me? Yay! So I'm just gonna wait just like a couple of minutes to let people join in. But welcome. I'm really happy to be here today with you guys, and I'll just start by introducing myself for those of you who don't know me. So my name is Kim Parenteau. I'm the founder and formulator of Wild Grace. I create organic plant-based skincare, and all of my products are inspired by Ayurveda, and I'm also an Ayurvedic practitioner. So today, really what I want to share with you are some knowledge about what Ayurveda actually is, the philosophy behind it, why I practice this philosophy, and then go into some practices that can help us during these changes in season. Autumn and winter can often be disturbing for a lot of people on a mental, emotional, and physical level. Hi, nice to see your face. So yeah, maybe I'll wait maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and then we're going to jump right in because I have a lot of stuff that I want to cover today, and we have just an hour. And I do also want to leave a period of questions at the end. So maybe I'll talk for about 50 minutes, and then you can ask me some questions if you have any. So I just want to, I think we're going to jump right in. We're going to start by just grounding ourselves in the moment and taking a few deep breaths. So I invite you to just place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, close your eyes, and take a deep breath in. Fill your belly, extend the belly like a balloon. And exhale, and you can even make a sound. Two more breaths like this. A big breath in, filling the belly, extending the belly, relaxing the jaw, relaxing the facial muscles. And exhale. One last time. Inhale. Make this your biggest breath. Relax the shoulders and exhale completely. Yeah, so I just wanted to take a small moment to breathe together because we're all coming in from our morning, from our week, and we know that in general, we're all too much in our heads. And so it's just really nice to just begin by anchoring ourselves. So I'm going to start by talking a bit about Ayurveda. What is Ayurveda? So the word itself, Ayur, means life. Veda means the study of or knowledge of. So it really is the science or study of life. And it really is that broad. And so it originated in India a long time ago, over 5,000 years ago. We speak of Ayurveda as being the sister science to yoga. And it's really a system that encompasses, of course, body, mind, and spirit, but it's really in this fully dimensional or multidimensional and interconnectedness of everything, of life, that I found my place. So of course, I'm not Indian, I'm not of Indian culture. So like, why practice this here and how does it make sense for us here? Well, the truth is it makes sense no matter where you are in the world and no matter what your culture is. And when we look at all the big cultures, internationally, they all have this commonality, right? And Ayurveda is very similar to Chinese medicine, for example, where we're looking at the elements and how they play together and how they create this dynamic relationship and essentially create life. So the main elements that we're talking about in Ayurveda are air, ether, fire, water, and earth. These 5 elements combine together, as I said, to create and sustain life. As above, so below. So what we see even happening in the planetary scale of things is essentially mirroring what's happening even in one of our cells. And this is quite beautiful and quite a reality. So, I mean, essentially, the universe is contained in one cell. And when we look at the interplay a little more closely, you'll see how that dynamic, these dynamic forces work together. So in Ayurveda, what they did is that they created 3 archetypes to regroup these elements into 3 groups. So hi, Yvette. So we have, again, I said air, ether, fire, water, and earth. They regrouped air and ether together to call what we call the dosha Vata, and fire and water, Pitta, and earth and water. The water element is present both in Pitta and Kapha. And these doshas, as I said, they pertain to life in general. So we can talk about it on a human scale and how it affects us in terms of our personalities, our behaviors, our mental and thought patterns. And we have all 3. So it's not like when we talk about someone being more Vata, they just have a predominance of the qualities of the elements of earth and ether. But because sometimes people think that you're only one of the 3. So I just wanted to make that clear. We have all 3 and we need all 3. They're really different energies that are playing together and creating life, as I'm repeating. So quickly, I'll paint a portrait of these 3 archetypes in terms of the human, what we are, and then we're going to look at the seasons and different things. And then today we're going to be diving a little more closely into the Vata dosha and the Vata season. So the 3 archetypes. So the Vata person is typically like the air and ether, so like wind. There's a constant movement going on internally and mentally. So physically, there are people who are generally have a thin bone structure, thinner skin as well. We can see signs of premature aging because the skin is thin and tends to dry out very easily. The elements have specific qualities to them, right? So air, it will be mobile and variable and drying and light. So we're going to see things like internally, when someone has too much air, we're going to see physiological problems, for example, like constipation or bloatiness or burping, excess burping, dry hair, dry skin. These are all like Vata issues, physical issues. And then mentally, like the wind, again, that image of like all over the place. Mentally, there's more anxiety, more instability in general, and lack of focus, lack of really being grounded. So there's a bit of a lack of literally that earth element, and we're up here in the air and ether. So that's a typical Vata person. Typical Pitta person quickly is someone physically who will have a sort of medium bone structure. Again, the skin will be like medium thickness. In terms of their body and their muscles, they'll have a sort of naturally athletic look to them. Even when they don't work out so much, they just naturally are toned. And the qualities of fire, right? We're looking at heat, inflammation, acidity, and intensity. So they can be very intense personalities when they're out of balance. So when there is too much of this fire element, they are going into, frustration, irritability, anger, and just impatience. They're people who are generally very demanding and controlling, and they're perfectionists. So when things don't go their way, it kind of pisses them off. And so physically, the types of problems that we'll see with this excess heat will be like looser stools or skin irritation, skin acne of the inflammatory type. So redness, where we can really literally visually see that excess heat. Fungus is also very pitta type. One last thing about the pitta type, hair loss, because the excess heat will burn the hair follicle. So when you see a man or a woman who with some balding, generally you can say that there's definitely some excess pitta energy in them. So in the last dosha, the kapha dosha, so earth and water. So these are people who are, there's that density, even, mud, the earth and the water, and they're people who are actually very grounded and they look like that. So they look very solid. Their bone structure is more solid. They have very thick skin. We can think of a baby's skin when we think of a kapha skin. So they're people who age, without wrinkles, and they just have that sort of natural plumpness to their skin. And they are by nature very loving. There's again, the quality of the water element. It's a very loving people, very generous and loyal. And when they're out of balance, then they get stuck in the mud, basically. So if there's a retention, it can be emotional retention, where they're having issues in expressing what they're really feeling or thinking. Or it could be just like overgiving, and then there's a lack of actually taking care of themselves because they're constantly helping others. And to come back to that retention quality, there can be depression, there can be a stubbornness in their nature, and then we can see cysts appear or an accumulation of tissue. So generally we're seeing something where there's a lack of flow. So anyway, I could talk for hours just about the three doshas, but I will try to stay on track with today's subject. So coming back again to these three doshas, the three doshas govern also different energies in general in the body. So Vata is the energy of movement. So if we remember the wind, like being Vata, that's easy to remember that it's movement. Pitta is the energy of transformation. So what does fire do? It burns and it creates something else. So it's also responsible, for example, in our digestion, to really break down the food and come and get the elements that we're looking for. And then kapha is the energy of cohesion, or the energy of structure. So to go back to what I was saying at the very beginning of the talk, where the universe is also contained within one cell, the macro and the micro, we have these three energies playing together, right? The Vata being that energy of movement, where we have the cell nutrients and stuff moving around in the cytoplasm of the cell. We have the mitochondria, which is like the nucleus and the powerhouse of the cell, and that's the Pitta energy. And then we have the Kapha energy, which is the cell membrane holding the structure together, holding everything together. So it's interesting to see how, yeah, they really do need each other to exist. So seasons, how do the doshas pertain to the seasons? Again, we're always looking at the qualities of these elements and what it means, what it means in our own nature, what it means in nature in general. So right now, with going into fall, we are in fall, moving slowly towards winter. We can see the air element being present, the wind, the variability in temperature. Sometimes it's warmer, sometimes it's colder. We see all of these, and the dryness showing up. So what's happening outside is also, as I said earlier, a reflection of what's happening inside. And so we can have more of these Vata issues at this time of year. So again, in terms of what's happening emotionally, we can be feeling more anxiety, more, lack of focus, being unsettled in general. We can see physical signs of constipation, bloatiness, dryness in general. We can have nerve twitches because the dryness will begin in the colon for Vata dosha. So we will generally always see the beginning signs of an excess of Vata or air in the colon, and then it moves on. And so eventually when it touches the nervous system, you can start having, twitches or these kinds of issues, which will also be that indication of excess Vata. So, so also other things to look at what are happening, with the leaves falling, the transformation of the colors on the leaves. We can see that there's a new cycle beginning, and that this cycle of, even letting go of the leaves is kind of symbolic of what we can do at this time of year. So letting go of certain thought or patterns or behaviors that are not serving you anymore. Letting go of excess weight that is not serving you anymore. This is why also it's a good time to cleanse, for example. So all kinds of practices for this, whether it's journaling or writing things down and then actually burning that piece of paper to transform whatever it is that you want to let go of. Meditation, whether you're meditating just with looking at a flame, for example, and moving on to different practices like this. So I just realized that I didn't really, did I properly introduce myself at the beginning? I think I did. I didn't. I'll do it again. Some people joined in a bit later. So before I move further, why am I talking about Ayurveda today is because I am an Ayurvedic practitioner. I'm also the founder of Wild Grace Skincare, where I create skincare products, body oils, perfumes, all inspired by this philosophy. And I've always been interested in holistic health, healing, nutrition. And, for a long time, I didn't really know what avenue I should take to further my interest in these topics. And, I thought about becoming a nutritionist or studying naturopathy. But then when I discovered Ayurveda, it was really eye-opening to me because it really connected all the dots, between everything that interested me. And it really is about this connection about everything, and not a fragmented view on life or self. And this is what interested me. And yeah, and I love sharing about it. So let's move on. So there's a saying in Ayurveda that says like increases like. So of course, it's like pouring oil on a fire. We know what happens. So what we're looking for at this time of year is really to balance out any of these symptoms that can be aggravated at this time of year, like that I mentioned earlier. How can we do this? So we can do it a whole bunch of different ways. And today we'll also be practicing a breath exercise together and a few other things. But when we look again at those qualities of the air, the mobility, the variability, the cold quality, the light quality. We're looking for opposite qualities to these. So in terms of your lifestyle, we're looking for regularity. So regular hours, like to when you go to bed, when you wake up, when you eat your meals. And it sounds very simplistic, but it's huge in terms of balancing you out when you're feeling anxious, for example. Warmth is a very, very important quality to be looking for. So in our food, and we're going to dive much more deeply into the topic of diet very soon, but the food, you know, this is super important. The diet that we have during the summer months is kind of the opposite of what we want to be doing right now in order to sustain ourselves as best as we can. We're looking at, you know, it's sort of like all of these rituals or self-care habits that you already have. It's at this time of year, it's like they're more important. Why? Because Vata dosha is the wind, the dosha that will most easily get out of balance. It's just by its nature, and it's generally the first one to get out of balance. Yeah. So at this time of the year, when we know that it's Vata season, and we know that that also contributes, this is where it's crucial to really begin practicing, and even towards the end of summer, like even before we enter, actually the Vata season is the time to start. So obviously plenty of rest and practicing more yin activities where we're bringing a gentleness, a softness, a groundedness to ourselves. So practicing, for example, more yoga or yin yoga and meditation, maybe less jogging or more intense activities. And I'm not saying to not do them at all. This again really depends on you and your personality, and you're the better one to judge that for yourself, but really being mindful of this. And so maybe you're jogging for not quite as long, or maybe you're going a little bit slower than you normally run, but it's really about cultivating the yin and lunar or feminine quality within ourselves through everything we're doing, slowing down. So I want to show you about, and some of you may already know the breath called Nadi shodhana. So Nadi shodhana is a Sanskrit word that basically talks about the channels of the nostrils. So it means alternate nostril breathing. It's a breath that's practiced a lot in yoga in general. It's breathing. Pranayama is the Sanskrit word for breathing exercises. So prana is the life force, and yama is an exercise. So the pranayama, this is an amazing, simple exercise that is so grounding, and it will balance both hemispheres of the brain. It will balance the masculine and the feminine energy, or the solar and lunar energy within us. And it's really a tool to have and to use, and you can use it at all times. You know, I always say to my clients, like, even if you're at work and you have something that happens that stressed you out, like, just go to the bathroom and practice this breathing exercise, and it's immediate. So we're going to do it together. If you'd like to join me or just watch, whatever you'd like. And we start by blocking the right nostril with the thumb, the right thumb. And we're going to breathe in on the left. You're going to take your ring finger, block the nostril. And as of now, we're repeating. We're going to be exhaling. Inhaling on the same nostril. Blocking the nostril with the thumb, and then we exhale again on the left. Inhale. blocking, and you can really go at your own rhythm here. I invite you to extend the breath, extend the exhale, extend the inhale. Go as deep as you can, as slow as you can, keeping your eyes closed, alternating from right to left, and not pressing on your nostril with too much pressure, just enough that it blocks the airway. And trying to do it without even making a sound when you're breathing. So you're not forcing the breath. It's a gentle, long, slow breath. Exhaling and inhaling on each side. Keeping the spine erect, elongating the crown of the head to the sky, and relaxing the shoulders as you continue breathing. So one cycle of this breath is doing both sides. So an exhale and inhale on one side, and an exhale and inhale on the other side. And ideally, you want to do at least 10 cycles. I invite you to practice this in the morning before you start your day. And you can even practice it at night before going to bed. It's really effective. And if you're in a period of high anxiety, practice for 20 minutes this breath. It's very effective. Very effective. Sometimes it's the simplest things that are the most effective. And the most powerful tool that you can have, or that you have, and that everyone has in their toolbox is the breath. The bridge, between the inner world and the outer world. We begin our life here and end our life here. It's very symbolic, but I mean, the power of the breath is huge, and really to tap into the parasympathetic system, it's the most direct route. So it should always be your reflex, no matter what you're going through, whether it's anger or sadness or anxiety, whatever it is. First, think of your breath. Okay, just connect with yourself. Take a deep breath. Inflate that belly like the balloon, like we did earlier, or do the Nadi shodhana, the first reflex. All right. We can do more breathing exercises if we have time at the end, but I'm looking at the time, and I think we'll go. I'll start talking about some other topics that I wanted to cover today. So again, like increases like. So we're looking at counterbalancing the effects of the air. So oil in general is used a lot in Ayurveda. The Sanskrit word for oil is sneha, and that means love. So that in itself says a lot. So we're using this beautiful material, oil, to really nourish ourselves from the inside out. And just anecdotally, I studied painting and art history at university, and I could never bring myself to paint with acrylic paints because there was something that I just didn't like about the sort of plastic quality of that paint. And so oil paint really has this sort of luscious texture to it, a sensual texture that is just inviting, I feel, to the soul. So so oil can be used in many ways, obviously adding it to your food, adding high quality oils to your meals. And then on the body, Abhyanga, which is the word for the massage. So we can do a self Abhyanga, we can do a self massage with, you can use just extra virgin sesame oil, for example, at this time of year. Sesame oil is the best oil for Vata. It's a warming oil. So at this time of the year, it's a really beautiful oil to use. But even just sweet almond oil would be very nice as well. Ideally, you would like to warm the oil before you're using it on your body, and you can add essential oils that are soothing, like lavender or vetiver, patchouli, rose. So the technique when we're doing a self massage, I'm not going to do like a demonstration of the technique, but in general, you're starting by your extremities, starting with the feet, massaging the feet. We have all the reflex points on our feet. And so that's a really grounding practice in itself, just the feet. We're doing circular movements on the joints always, and then long movements on the long bone. So like the tibia, we're going long bones, long movements, and then, you know, around the knee, taking the time, applying, and don't be afraid to apply a lot of oil. It's sort of like, especially if you're doing this, you know, before bed, and you're not putting on some fancy clothes, it's all good, right? So the more, the merrier. And so moving, what I do basically, just to give you some practical info here, I put a towel on my bathroom floor, I sit on it, start massaging my feet, moving up, as I said, always with this technique, circular movements on the joints, long movements on the bones. Move up to the hips. Then I do my arms. Then I basically do everything I can reach while sitting. You know, you do want to also massage the breasts and the sides of the body and the back, everything you can reach, and the shoulders and the neck. I don't do my head daily. I don't do the Abhyanga daily. I do sometimes do it daily for a period of time, and then I'll do it every other day, and sometimes just once a week. It really, you know, do what works for you, according to the season as well. I tend to do it a lot more in the Vata season than I do in the summer, for example. And then I'll stand up for the last part of, you know, doing my buttocks, doing the front, and you really want to get everywhere. Then there's two techniques, you know, the traditional Ayurvedic way would be to do this actually before you shower. And then you shower very lightly, you wash it off very lightly, because you want a little bit of that oil to remain on the skin as a sort of protective barrier and nourishment to the cells. Or you can oil your body after the shower, after your bath. When your skin is still moist, it's a very nice way to use the oil as well. You're using a lot less of it because the skin is moist. You don't need as much oil. So I tend to do it that way more than the traditional way before the shower. Just I like it like that. So, but that really depends on what you prefer. So another thing I like to emphasize is the massage of the feet. So for example, if you don't necessarily want to do the full body massage, or don't have time to it or for it or whatever, just massaging your feet before going to bed is so grounding and relaxing, and I swear you will sleep much better. Vata season can also affect sleep, create insomnia, and often the type of insomnia where you're waking in the early hours of the morning. This is kind of a typical Vata type of insomnia, but yeah, so that's a really nice practice to add to your evening rituals. Would be a warming the oil again, just massaging the feet, putting on a pair of socks, and then going to bed. Another evening ritual would be to make yourself a nice warm drink of warm milk. In Ayurveda, they use a lot of dairy. I don't consume dairy. but whatever milk that you consume, so whether, it can be oat milk or almond milk or cow's milk, warm the milk and simply add a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg. Just as simple as that. So if you're having a bit of trouble sleeping, or if you're feeling a little bit of this Vata imbalance, that's a really nice ritual to add before going to bed. You can also add a little bit of date or date sugar into this drink as well. I think that is the segue into diet, right? I think we're naturally going there. So I think we're going to talk about that right now. So how to eat for Vata. So again, when we're looking at these elements of cold, variability, light, how are we going to change that with the diet? So if I'm eating similar qualities to that, so not really what I should be doing, but if I'm eating similar qualities to salads are light and crackers and like dry food and light food, and that's all I'm eating, I'm feeding what's already creating issues for me. So it will aggravate the issues that I already have. So I am looking for soupy textures, warm textures, unctuous, oily, dense food. So if you even just remember that about how you should be eating, that's enough to guide you with your choices. So when I'm saying it, just to be clear, I'm not saying never eat any salads. No. Eat your salad. I love salads. I eat salads all the time. But at this time of year, add soup, have a warm herbal tea with it, have a little bit of chili or something warm to counterbalance that. Root vegetables are your friend at this time of year. We're looking, so in Ayurveda, there are 6 known tastes. So we're talking about sweet, salty, sour, bitter, pungent, and astringent. Ideally, you want to have a presence of these 6 tastes at each meal. I know that's not always possible, but ideally. And when we do have those 6 tastes present at each meal, there's a certain internal intelligence that's satisfied, if you like. So we don't have these cravings and stuff like that because the body has been fed the nutrients and the tastes which have their function within, and therefore, yeah, there's a satisfaction. Now, the tastes that are predominantly satisfying or pacifying, I should say, to the Vata dosha are the 3 S's. So sweet, sour, and salty. So the sweetness is the grounding, taste. Now we're not talking about sugar, but it could be like just the sugar that's contained in the root vegetables, for example. That's sweetness. Or dairy actually has a sweet quality to it that's pacifying for Vata. And the sour and salty both have function within the body to stimulate appetite and digestion. So when the Vata is aggravated, we tend to have a few digestive issues going on. As I mentioned earlier, it could be bloatiness or just like a weaker digestion. And agony, which is the word for this digestive fire that we have, it's diminished at this time of year. So eating these kinds of foods will help. If you're having, important digestive issues at this time, I would say before you eat a meal, and especially if you know if it's going to be a sort of a meal that's a bit difficult to digest, then prior to eating it, you can grate a little bit of ginger, add a little bit of lime or lemon juice and a little bit of salt, and then you eat that. That will already get the digestive juices going and the enzymes, and will help you a lot. So yeah, and yeah, there are certain foods like that are drying. For example, lentils, beans are by nature very drying. When we think of the air element in these foods, or tofu has a lot of air. So I'm vegetarian. So what do I do with that, right? What do you do? So it's not the way Ayurveda explains it. And I gave you a link to a document in the invitation to this talk today. If you download it, there's lists of foods that are recommended. Again, it's like, take it with a grain of salt, in the sense that these are very good guidelines. But as a vegetarian, for example, of course, I'm eating tofu and beans, even though it's not necessarily recommended. So I try to counterbalance, again, knowing the main philosophy about this is that we're looking for richer, denser, warm, soupy qualities. So if I'm eating tofu, I'll be making a richer sauce with some spices and some coconut milk and oil, and so this is how we work around it. It's really, that's the most important thing. It's not about following rules or details. It's about understanding the principles behind them, and then you're free, whether you're eating in a restaurant or a friend's place or cooking meals for yourself, then you understand what will be good for you. And so yeah, I think we're gonna end, because I do want to leave, not end right away. We're gonna end with one last exercise, and then I'll just see if you guys have any questions, because I do want to respect everyone's time and end at 1 o'clock. So I'm going to be talking now just about a mantra, and a mantra is a sacred word that you chant that creates a certain vibration, and the frequency at which you chant it will create a sort of cellular memory of this frequency that can be healing. And different sounds obviously have different frequencies, so different sounds will affect different parts of the body and affect different organs. Now, when we're looking at the chakra system, which are basically energy points within the spinal column, and each chakra pertains to a certain gland in the endocrine system. And the chakra that is the most easily out of balance for the Vata dosha is the root chakra, right? So we're up here, we're like floating around. We're looking to be rooted. We're looking for the earth element. So just working, even in that sense, on the mantra that will activate the root chakra is also a really nice practice to add to your daily rituals in the morning. So you could do, a bit of the Nadi shodhana breath, and then just chanting. So the mantras for the mantra, pardon me, for the root chakra is Lam, and the color for the root chakra is red. So we can do it together just for a few moments. You can close your eyes and just imagine already, before we start chanting, a red ball of light, of energy at the base of your spine. So it's just shining and pulsating its energy out. Now you take a deep breath in, you fill your belly, and you chant the mantra Lam. La. One more time, take a deep breath in. La. You can continue one last time and just continue imagining this beautiful pulsating red light getting bigger and bigger and expanding as you're breathing. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. So obviously, when you're adding this to your practice, you can chant for, at least 10 times, and really remembering that the feeling associated with the root chakra is a feeling of being rooted, feeling secure, and this is what will help, stabilize our energy, our flighting energy. And it is really powerful. Like if you haven't practiced chanting before, it's a really beautiful practice. I really invite you to do so. So if you want to learn a little bit more about your doshas and the distribution, if you like, of these, the Vata, Pitta, Kapha within, you can go onto my website, wildgrace.ca, and do the dosha quiz there. There's a dosha quiz for the doshas, for your personality and behavior. And then there's one for the skin type, because you can have a certain dosha makeup for who you are, defining your personality, again, your physical looks, your behaviors, and then have a different dosha type for your skin. So I'm a perfect example of that. So my doshas are Vata, Kapha, and my skin type is Pitta. So that's an example of that. I would love to answer questions if you guys have any questions, or if there's a topic that you'd like me to share more about with you, let me know, and I will. I think anybody can unmute themselves if you do want to just go ahead and ask me a question, or you can type a question in the chat box if you prefer. And
hi, Kim.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, Emmy, hi.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much. This was really interesting and informational. I know just a little bit about Ayurveda, not very much. So this was really nice. I've been curious
You're super
about
welcome.
it. Yeah, it was really, really good.
Cool.
And you mentioning during this time, like it being a good time to kind of slow down and everything. And it just made me think that I tend to put a lot of things on my plate, and I tend to want to do all of the things. And this fall, I had told myself, you know what, I'll try to like slow down a little bit, but there's stuff coming up and I'm tempted to want to do it all. And so this was a nice gentle reminder of, yes, maybe, but also if there's a way to sort of slow down and try to stay a bit more grounded and take a bit of, make sure there's still taking time to, self-care and take a pause and, cook your meals and take a bath or like do stuff like that, that it's really important. So
I think that's the key, right? Is anchoring in the self-care practices that will support you, because and slowing down doesn't mean that we're not creating new projects. For example, the fall is a great time actually for creativity in general. I know for myself, I'm probably at the most creative. I'm the most creative in the fall. Like I love the fall for that, but it is about, as you just said, like reminding ourselves to do one thing at a time, or to do, it doesn't mean that we don't do a lot, but it's like, or anchoring yourselves with this self-care and the food and the warm drink at night and all those things. But
that makes sense, so that it can help support you in your projects, and so you're not getting depleted, right?
Yes, and serve that creativity in you, right? To birth the new projects, but in a supportive way, and that in the end, sort of like, you know, the seasons or the sun, we know that we create sometimes urgencies in our life with situations or projects, and in the end, does that urgency really exist? Does it need to exist?
Yeah.
Generally, no. But for some reason, we've convinced ourselves that it does. So coming back to that, the essence of it, because the project, you know, whatever project it is, it may take longer, for example, than we initially thought. Does it matter? Not really.
Right.
Not really. As long as you're, yeah, doing it authentically and creating something that is meaningful. I think that's what's important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, and I like that there's there's like this intention behind this, right? Like being aware of this, and like you're being intentional with your energy and your time and the little self-care practices. You know, I really like that. So yeah, that makes sense. Thank
I
you for
agree
sharing
with
all
you.
that.
Intention is everything.
Yeah, yeah, and we forget
So,
sometimes. So thank you for that.
hey, you're so welcome. Thank you for asking the question. So, Juliette, can you mention again? Whoop, my cat just jumped. The shortcut way of doing Abhyanga that you mentioned you like to do. Yes, Juliet. What I like to do, well, the way I do the Abhyanga is that I just put a towel on the bathroom floor. I have my oil. Sometimes it's just like I have a bowl of hot water and put, you know, my oil directly in it just to warm it like this. Then I start by the feet. So I'm sitting on the towel, I start with the feet, massage the feet, and then I do circular motions around the joints, long motions on the bones, and I move all the way up. I do everything I can being on my seated, sorry, you know, important to get, you know, all the parts like underarm, the breast here. Okay, it's a nice way to do it is crossing the arms, like to get into these harder spots, and then putting your hands like this for the sides of the body. And then you get up and do the belly and the buttocks and all that. So I'm not sure if you were referring to that, or when I said, like, sometimes when I don't do the full body massage, I just massage my feet. And that's also, it's a beautiful practice, just that we have all the reflex points on are mapped out on our feet, and therefore it really is like a full body massage just to massage the feet or the head. Actually, we didn't really talk about head massage today, but I mean the head is amazing also. All right, so I hope that answers the question. Oh, Juliet, I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm just gonna clarify real quick. Did you mention, I was multitasking, so I don't know if I misheard you, but did you say that sometimes you do Abhyanga in the shower?
No, I said that traditionally in Ayurvedic rituals, you practice the Abhyanga before showering. So maybe ideally a 15 to 20 minute before. So you're letting the oils work therapeutically and enter the skin and the cells. But the way I prefer to do it generally, not always, but generally is after the shower or my bath. So when my skin is still wet, because I tend to do it more like as in the evening before I go to bed rather than in the morning. And yeah, so that's how I do it. And then I just keep the oils on me during the night.
Got it. That's what it was. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Amélie, I've always been curious about eating with the seasons, and Ayurveda seems to provide guidelines for that. Would you have some further resources to explore eating for different doshas? There's so many resources. I'm wondering where to guide you to. Yeah, I know where to guide you to. Banyan Botanicals is they're based in the US. It's an online shop. They sell all kinds of supplements and herbal oils, therapeutic oils. and they have a lot of documentation and their blog articles, and I think it's a really good resource for any kind of information like that. I don't know, Amélie, if you also downloaded the document that I sent the link to within the invitation to this talk, but there's also a summary of you know, what's recommended to eat, and what a typical Vata plate should look like and stuff like that. But yeah, that would be one that I would recommend. If not, there's Vasant Lad, VASANTLAD. He has a school, I believe it's in New Mexico, and but on his site, I'm not sure what the site is exactly, but if you type Vasant Lad, he's like, my textbooks for my Ayurveda training were written by him. He's you know, a master teacher, so you can find I'm sure also a lot of resources on his site as well. All right, I hope that answers your question. You're de rien, Amélie, ça me fait plaisir. So would anyone else have any question? And by the way, to Amélie or any other French speaking people, like if anybody wants me to do this talk in French, write to me, and then I'll figure out a time to offer it in French as well. I want to thank all of you for being here with me. Yeah, and for your time, it's precious. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful. Thank you to each one of you. Oh, thank you, Yvette. Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, can I unmute you all? Mute all. Mute. Just so we can say bye to each other. I am very new to this. It's the first time I give a talk on Zoom, so technically challenged at this moment. Ask to unmute. I can see how to unmute you individually, but not ask all to unmute. Sorry, guys, I can only see how to invite you to individually, but just so we can say bye.
Thank you so much.
Hear your voices. Thank you guys for being here. Have an awesome day. Hey, a face. Hi. C'est qui? C'est Amélie. Salut.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci à vous.
Merci.
De vous.
Bonne fin de semaine.
Et puis, merci toi aussi. Si vous avez des questions aussi qui vous viennent en tête par la suite, n'hésitez pas à m'écrire, ça me fera plaisir de vous répondre. So if you have any questions like that come to mind after the talk, just don't hesitate and write to me. I will be happy to answer.
Kim, will you be sending the recording?
I could, yeah. Good point. Thank you for reminding me to do something like that. Yes, I will definitely do that. If it recorded.
Yeah, it's been recording.
It should. You can see that it's been recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yay. All right then. Love to all.
Thank you. Merci.
Merci à vous.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.
Bon week-end.
Merci. Vous aussi.
Merci.